Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of The Scoop. Do you want to find out what's going on with Mateta? En-Nesyri is now in the mix. Where do we stand on Mingueza and Chiesa? And why is Arcadia Schmilik on our list? We intend to give you answers to all of this information and more during this episode. As always, please put your comments in the chat and we will get to them at the end. But before we jump into that, let's get into it. Welcome all to The Scoop, your go-to program to cut through all of the noise surrounding Juventus and its transfer rumors. My name is Zach, and of course, I'm joined by Frederic, from whom we get our inside information. My man, how's it going?
Pretty okay. I'm stoked because as people may or may not know, we're leaving in a couple of days to the beautiful city of Turin
Yes, sir.
to watch our team pick up the gloves against Napoli and hope on a good result. But other than that, I'm looking forward to meeting you and Kevin in real life. So very, very excited indeed.
Yeah, well, hopefully a much better result tomorrow. And while we're there in person than we saw over the weekend, we're not really going to talk about it. I'd rather just really briefly note the results during today's Champions League series, because a lot of the results went our way. Leverkusen losing, Monaco losing, Napoli, Copenhagen drawing. All were results that help Juventus as long as we do the job tomorrow. So it was kind of exciting to watch. Obviously, the Bodo Glimt result being a real shocker was pretty cool as well. I think if we win, with the losses today, that it bodes really, really well for Juventus going through, doesn't it, Frederic, after the results today?
Yeah, but it doesn't change the fact that, it remains the same as it remained prior to the Christmas break or the holiday season, that it's in our hands, basically.
Mhm.
So we just need a good result tomorrow in order to cement our way in the next round, which hopefully will bring us in some money as well, which could help in the mercato for the summer, I'd imagine.
Which is good for us. I mean, we decided to do the Scoop program in a summer where the team did like 4 deals, and in a winter, well, the team so far has done none. Even though we are circling the drain on a couple, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. A couple more housekeeping things, y'all. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube, Turn Giants Official, or follow us on Instagram at Turn Giants, that's huge. Liking our content on YouTube also helps as well. And look at what I got. What I'm wearing today, Frederic.
It's very, 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 very nice. I think you set the bar really high in terms of fashion within Turin Giants, and really, really nice shirt, as everybody can see.
It's a lot of fun. It
And
came in. I was super stoked to have it. Yours
I
is
can
in my
imagine.
bag, already packed. So I'm bringing you
Nice,
yours so that you
nice.
can join me. But it's a lot of fun for those who want to have a little fun with us. We did make them available on our website, turngiants.com. You can see on the screen, the pictures are not the best, but you can see for me, they exist and kind of how they look on a 6 foot, and I don't know that in centimeters, male. Check it out today. I was told today that there's only one double XL left. So for the folks who explicitly asked us to offer larger sizes, and that was true, there's only one double XL left.
Yep.
Scoop it up if that
And
is you today.
this is in fact a limited edition tee. So if you guys
Yeah.
want to snatch it, because the next design will probably be different.
Hmm.
Zach and I are coordinating designs with Dan Colissimo.
Hmm.
Shout out to Colo 99 for that. So if you want to be part of history, here's your chance. And it's a very limited edition run. So I wouldn't hesitate if I were you, and if you like it. And it would mean the world to us because it also supports us a bit in our way of funding these things. And so we'd be stoked if we could see some people buying our merch and maybe seeing someone in the wild with a Scoop shirt on. So
Oh,
go visit the site.
okay, here's our plug man, Frederic here. But no, if you do get one, and that would mean the world to us because we think of you as our sort of our Juve family. Please post a picture on social media and tag Turn Giants and the Scoop Juve on Instagram. We will 1000% shout you out because it means a lot to us. One more housekeeping matter for all of you is that speaking of Dan Colissimo, is I've already texted him that we need a intro video. And I actually would rather y'all contribute to this than me and Frederic come up with something silly. So, please put in the comments to this or message us on Instagram. What kind of the intro should it be? Should it be like a newsroom style intro? Should we go campy and it be comedic, like us two knuckleheads on cartoon bodies serving gelato? Like, give us some ideas on what our intro video to the Scoop should be, and then when we meet with Colo 99, we can pitch those ideas and see what he can come up with.
Also,
So that'd be a lot of fun.
Zach, sorry to
Huh.
interrupt. I have a maybe a stupid question, but I want to bring it on online regardless.
Okay.
What you say that we give away like one or two shirts in our next live scoop, so we can get people riled up, and maybe after the Napoli game, you think that'll work?
Oh, absolutely. I think we could come up with something, something creative and give away a Scoop shirt. I think that would be
Yeah.
awesome. And for the folks in chat, everybody here, BBE, and frankly, I don't know exactly how you want to be referred to. Alex Dr at 1S, Unholy Fun, Alex. I already said your name. Benedetto, and everybody else in the chat. I recognize your names and I appreciate your loyal, following and attendance. So yeah, we can get out a shirt. I
We'll,
think.
we'll we'll talk we'll talk in Turin to see how we're gonna do it. But I'd say keep posted. We'll get it signed. Alex says you'll get a personalized card with it though, Alex. I'll sign the card for you if that's okay.
All right, and BBE, or at least the individual I referred to as BBE, said Ibolito. I might have butchered that, and I apologize. Is the name? Yes. So we'll do that. That'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited about that. My housekeeping matters is sporadic today, Frederic, but I think we can summarize it as in Scoop shirts. A lot of fun
Get 'em.
for you and I. You guys can get them
Yep.
too at turngiants.com and give us ideas for a intro video in the comments. I want to see some creative options here, and we can meet with the Cola 99 and make one of those happen. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's finally get rid of all the housekeeping matters and talk content. Let me share my screen. As always, what we do here is we provide a presentation for you, where we go through a list of the targets, some of whom are being talked about in the media, where we kind of give you some insight into what's really happening and where they truly are in the stage of happening or not happening. As well as potential departures at the end of these live episodes. And I see people doing this already. We go down the list in chat of people's questions and clarifications and concerns to discuss them with all of you. So if you put a question, and I know there's already some there, please stick around till after we get through this list of names, and we will discuss it with you and with everybody else.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention something else because I received a DM, a couple of them, where people ask, hey, but you talked about this and this guy 2 episodes ago, and now it's not in the program. Why is that? Well, basically that's because nothing's changed. And I have no info about that. So I'm not gonna just randomize things and make up as I go. No, if I don't have any info, then the name is not on the list. And I'm very open towards Zach because he puts time in creating these sheets, and I fill him in with the info. And if I have nothing, then there's not much use of me or Zach putting it into a slide. So there's that.
The opposite is also true. Like Quentin Timber, if I believe, was reported as confirmed signing for, I believe, Marseille or somebody today.
Yep.
There's no point for us to include him on any episodes going forward because he's
Nope.
over and done. He's old news as far as
Yeah.
a potential arrival in Juventus. So that's kind of how it is. And a good example of that is like we don't have Seneze or Ruben Neves on today's episodes because there's no new information. At least on that. If there's a name where you're like, hey, it's not on your episode, is there nothing new, or is what's happening? Because you guys haven't covered him for an episode or whatever. Like I see Fertezi as a question in chat. We'll answer that one later. Please send us a message either on YouTube comments or directly on Instagram, and we'll make sure to include it in the next episode.
Yeah.
That's a good
Also,
that's a good call out.
a shirt question I just see pop up from Bogdan. $30 for the shirt, 75 for the transport. That's for now. It's going to change because when I get back from Turin, I'll have a bit of stock with me, hopefully. But for now, we need to ship it from the US. But we're solving that issue as we speak. And I think we also have to work on something on the back end of the
Yeah.
store.
Yeah.
But we'll push it forward to our web developers because obviously that's not gonna happen. That's a bit much. So we'll have a look into that. Thank you so much for reporting that, Bogdan.
Yeah.
And
And
we'll make sure that'll be
buy it.
fixed.
Nobody buy the shirt
No,
with $75 shipping. Please don't.
no, please don't.
Just don't do that to yourself.
Even if you have the money, don't.
Don't do it.
Don't. It's ridiculous. But
We're
we'll sort it out.
we're learning. Just being honest with y'all, we're learning a little bit about this. Is sort of rejuvenating the store. It's been largely U.S. focused, and we want to bring it international, but we're sort of learning as we go as to the shipping aspect internationally. So if that is the case, and Bogdan, if you feel comfortable like DMing us where you're located, and we can kind of look into what options exist, because we plan on rolling out different merch moving forward, and the more we learn now, the better we'll be in the future. So I think
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I thought it was pretty time pressing. So
yeah. Okay. Very good. Sorry. Yeah, I appreciate you calling out Frederick. But let's get into the names. We're going to start and couple the first two, because there have been reports within the last few hours, give or take, maybe the last day, that the interest in Mateta has cooled after rejection of our offer, and En-Nesyri, the Moroccan striker for Fenerbahce, is now the prospect. What is the truth behind that, Frederick?
there is truth in that, but it has a bit more nuance to it opposed to what media is trying to let us believe. The fact is, we have a verbal agreement with both of the players, but not with the teams, which is usually the case, or else they would have been a Juventus player already. The thing is, with Mateta, Crystal Palace were very reluctant to send him Juve's way due to the fact that our proposal was not what Crystal Palace had envisioned, and they had a different proposal from I think the likes of Aston Villa. Whereas with En-Nesyri or En-Nesyri, I don't know how you pronounce it, to be honest. There's a bit more leeway from Fenerbahce in terms of that we can sign the player on a loan with an option to buy. Whereas with Mateta, we were pretty much forced to buy him outright already in January. There was no wiggle room for a loan, and even if there was, then the standards were set very high by Crystal Palace in terms of compensation, payment procedures, because they wanted the lump sum in one payment in the summer, and very easy obligation clauses. I think the obligation clause that Crystal Palace envisioned was if Juve made Europa League, then the clause would be automatically triggered. But Juventus said the best we can do is Champions League qualification, and even then we want diluted payments. And there is where we kind of fell off the path a bit. And also the influence of Spalletti. Spalletti was given these names and was asked about, well, his preference. And his preference, from what I can tell, goes to the Moroccan player, because he's somebody who's very capable with his head, with headers. And that's something that Spalletti desperately needs, and he wants somebody with not only physicality but speed and agility in the air. And En-Nesyri ticks those boxes for him. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But I expect an in or an out even before I get on the plane to Turin. So
I have a question on En-Nesyri because he was, if I'm not mistaken, the Super League's record signing before Osimhen went for all those billions. He has what 3.5 years left on his contract. He's on pretty hefty wages. Um, is he unsettled over there? Like, why would they be willing to let? Is he doing badly? Like, why would they be
no, no,
willing to
no.
let him go?
Actually, I looked into his stats and a couple of videos, and he's doing very well in terms of goal scoring, in terms of overall performances. The thing is, Fenerbahce is having financial issues, so they need to offload him because the wages that he is on currently are just too much for Fenerbahce. So they're willing to play ball because they know that for them financially it's going to be very, very challenging to keep him. And that's pretty much the thick of it. So
Alrighty. So, if you are new to the scoop, what we do for each name on our program is assign a temperature, which really is akin to a probability. But we didn't want to put numbers because, as everybody who follows international football can tell you, is things change so quickly that putting any numbers there would only invite unnecessary criticism to things completely out of our control. So we use temperature instead. Where do we stand in light of everything you've said, Frederic, on Mateta and En-Nesyri?
I'd put Mateta at room temperature, simply due to the fact that it seems like the train that has passed. In all honesty, that's the sense that I get from the text of my sources. That it's pretty much, it's not all over and done with, but it's cooled down significantly. He also mentioned that there was an aspect of Mateta or his management that didn't fall into Juventus's good grace. I asked him for clarification, but he hasn't responded. So I don't know if it has anything to do with that. Whereas I put En-Nesyri personally on hot because, like I said a couple of minutes ago, I think it'll be in or out before I get onto the plane to Turin, which is in a couple of days. So, and I think for this the striker position, the number 9 position, or whatever you want to call it, that En-Nesyri is the only logical candidate, which doesn't he won't have that tremendous an effect on our balance sheet for now. The details, should they be accepted by Fenerbahce, are slightly in our favor, and you have a striker that you can utilize in a lot of ways, and I think it speaks for itself that he's a man of great talents, and he could contribute something to this Juventus squad. So if Juventus make the push, then it should be done within 48 hours, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Well, they are both larger, presences
Yeah.
in the box. I think they slightly different tactics. Mateta more comfortable back to goal than En-Nesyri, who's more of a penalty box poacher.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
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 So where Mateta might be more described as a little bit more of a target man than a
Yeah.
poacher, despite both of their uh, good presence in the air. Let's
And Nesri, sorry, and Nesri
yeah.
is, in my opinion, a more technical player. If you compare him to Mateta, so he could be somebody who's, I don't know, useful in a number of positions, not just on the 9 or whatever. So
And that sort of answers one of the questions in chat from Masood. Can they play multiple positions? Now, I was under the impression that they're largely both
number
nines.
9. Yeah.
Based on our team and their skill sets, I would be surprised if we played them anywhere else, to be
No, no,
honest.
no, no, no.
Well, you spoke about things cooling off. Well, I think one thing that's absolutely cooled off is all of the noise around Mingueza. Now, does that mean that, like when we were talking about before, when we don't have names on our list, that there's nothing happening, or does the quiet around Mingueza around across the various articles and social media mean that that deal is now unlikely to happen?
No, I think it's still, they're still in contact with management. They're still in contact with Atletico, sorry, Celta de Vigo.
Mhm.
So they're still exploring, they're still negotiating, they're still in communication. I just don't think that anything significant has happened yet. And I think Juventus is trying their best to get him in this transfer window, but they have to, keep in mind that they have standards, financial ones they need to oblige to. So it'll be on the tipping scale. It's going to be sort of a tipping point on that balance scale come the last week of transfer market. I think, if I were to put my 2 cents on players, I think we'll sign two. This is my personal opinion. Just want to make that clear. I think we'll end up signing Mingueza and Nesri. Uh, I think those for me are the ones that tick the most boxes and are the most logical to happen in terms of squad depth and in terms of the financial woes that we're facing. So it's cooled down media wise, but internally they're still communicating, negotiating, discussing. But I see him on a more distant timeline in this market than, for instance, En-Nesyri. I think En-Nesyri is very, yeah, it's been prioritized by Spalletti, so they're working on that a bit more harder than they are on Mingueza.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you said that if you're going to sign any two players, you would expect us or anticipate us to sign En-Nesyri and Mingueza. So what temperature do you give Mingueza?
I give Mingueza a warm for now because it's very difficult to say if we'll be able to pull it off financially to get him in for this transfer window, and if not, I'll think we'll definitely do whatever we can to get him in June, transfer free, if that. So
Let's move to the fourth name. January largely has been for Juventini the Chiesa watch transfer window. There's been so much going on of it happening, not happening. Juventini wanting it to happen, Juventini not very clearly not wanting it to happen. So where do we stand? Is this over and done with? Can we close the book, or is it still solidly likely?
I wouldn't say over, but I wouldn't say likely either. I think it's somewhere in between. I think Juventus diminished a bit of the communication between themselves and Liverpool due to the fact that Liverpool was very harsh on their transfer fee, on the kind of clauses they wanted. And I think Juventus is now applying the tactic from, okay, cool with me. We'll keep you posted to see if they can come back with something a bit more suitable for us in terms of the financial agreements on that contract. Because I'm just going to repeat it, Liverpool want more for Chiesa than what we sold him for. That's the bottom line of it, and yeah, I think it's safe to say that Juventus is not having that.
Yep.
So there's still a lot of room in between what Juventus wants to offer and what Liverpool is willing to receive. Do we have enough time? I don't know. Do we have time to prioritize Chiesa? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I think that Chiesa was seen as a bit of a, how should I put it, a sort of a present that fell out of the sky, something like that, like something that, okay, this is, we have a shot here for not a lot of money with a relatively qualitative player. Let's try to make it happen. And to this day, it hasn't panned out yet, and I'm not sure that it will pan out yet. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think when Juve realized it wasn't going to be a gift, then that absolutely nipped any potential transfer in the bud.
Yeah,
Needless to say, what temperature are we putting at it today?
I'd put him at room temperature.
Room temperature with a line on that cooling further. Let's go to the last name, a name that was on our list in scoop episodes of old, but not anytime recently. We have Frank Kessie, and with a name like this, uh, please clarify whether we're looking at Kessie for this window or next.
For the next window, most definitely, because there's some sort, as everybody knows, he plays in Saudi Arabia. There's some sort of settlement that they cannot switch teams too early or make a transfer. I don't know what the exact matter of that is, but there's been some contact over the past couple of days with his management. Apparently, Cassie is very keen on returning back to Europe.
Hmm.
He'd prefer like a team with a bit of standing, which Juventus still has, surprisingly. Juventus have had talks with him in the past or with his management. So that's been rekindled a bit in a kind of way, but it hasn't gone too deep in terms of um, an offer or expected salary or duration of the contract. Still a bit explorative in that sense. But from what I can tell, there's been three or four calls back and forth between both sides. So there is something happening there. And that's why I also put him at room temperature, because the situation to me and my source is a bit unclear at the moment, because we're, still on first base in terms of that transfer. So let's wait until we reach second or third before we jump to conclusions.
The I'm going to pause right here. We're at the conclusion of the potential additions portion of today's episode. We're about to move into a few potential departures. Before I do that, I want to remind everybody in chat, please, if you have questions for us or something you want to discuss, put it in chat. We will get to it as soon as we complete these three names, and we can discuss all of them then. And I think one thing, and I just want to kind of mentally bookmark this, that Alex puts in the chat is a comment that it says it looks like we're getting half a squad in the summer, because we've talked about Senesi, Ruben Neves. You and I have been tracking Bernardo Silva's potential arrival for a long time. You got Kessie on the list now, Mingueza maybe now, maybe later. A lot of names that we have provided information on of genuine Juve interest in acquiring for the summer. So that is something I do want to discuss. If I forget, keep me honest, chat and Frederic, and kind of how that's baked into Camoli's strategy, and to what extent that's affected by where we finish on the table.
Yeah, that's basically, you know, I'll get into that later, but that's
Okay.
basically the thing. We need to see where we figure, and we need to know what sanction we're going to get financially from
Yeah.
the UEFA, because we're going to get one. And this is just a cautionary measure to see that we're not, getting ahead of ourselves and basically getting us into too much debt without being able to, be stable in the foreseeing future. So I don't think half a squad is 5 players. So I think we'll attract 5 players in the summer. But if they're all going to be starters, I don't know. If they're all going to be made out of the same level or quality, I don't know. It all depends on Camoli's strategy and what the books say that we have
Mhm.
available to spend, and
Yeah.
we'll know that end of May, beginning of June.
Yeah, because there's a lot of other things at play that we've talked about. If Douglas Luiz comes back, if we are forced to trigger Openda's clause, and we
Yep.
are digging into that to see what fine print really is there, for y'all, and just because I'm curious too. Um, all of that's going to affect everything. Okay, let's push any further discussion about the questions in chat till after these three names. We've got potential departures: Odzic, Moretti, and Milik. We've talked about the first two, so we will start with them. Odzic, you had previously said a lot of loan interest, but you could see this going to the end of the month.
Mhm.
Any change on the Odzic's interest and the likelihood that he goes out on loan?
No, still a lot of interest. I think he's likely to go out on loan if we get a team that meets our requirements. And Juventus is very clear on that. If Azic goes out on loan, they want him to play. So, we know that, as a player, you need to earn your spot and whatever, but Juventus are very adamant on the fact that he needs to build up some experience in Serie A. So for them, that's the only requirement even. They're even willing to let him go out on a free loan where Juventus would pay or cover his salary. Doesn't matter, but they need playing minutes for Adzic.
Hmm.
And the closest I hear still Parma. It's going back and forth. And I think, once again, my personal opinion, that it has to do with a Parma player might join, our squad in the summer. So I don't know what's happening there, but I could see Adzic, in the last week type of deal if Spalletti agrees, because
Hmm.
Spalletti has been asked the question if he's okay with Adzic leaving, and he's very ambiguous about it. So it's difficult to make that decision when you're the new sporting director or general manager when you don't have the consent of your coach. So it's a bit of a funny situation with Adzic, and Adzic really doesn't want to leave. He wants to play more, but I can't see that happening a lot this season at Juventus.
And that hurts. I mean, that his chances of that were really hurt by the next player on our list, Fabio Moretti. Before we talk about him, temperature on Odzic.
I'd
Leaving.
say room. I'd say room because it's not gone into any hectic acceleration for the time being. But
Mhm.
I think that out of the three, he's one of the most likely to go, especially out on loan.
Yeah, and that I expect this temperature to heat up as we
Yeah.
near the end of next week. Fabio Moretti has some definite interest in Serie A. The question is would he get the opportunity on Juventus? Was he good enough for Juventus? Have we been able to answer these questions, Frederic, as to Moretti and his likelihood of staying or leaving?
Well, more or less, I think we could all see that, Spalletti admires him, sees a lot of potential in the player, gave him a bit of confidence the last couple of games, where I think that Moretti also thanked Spalletti for that confidence in terms of presentation. Maybe the game against Cagliari wasn't, the best game, but you could see that it was a different team with Moretti on the pitch, in my opinion, in terms of depth and in terms of verticalization. Spalletti is a huge fan. Moretti's getting, his minutes in. He's currently building up his form. He can go to basically any Serie A team bar Inter. But I feel like Juventus and Moretti are for now happy to share their experiences together in the black and white shirts. So I honestly can't see him moving, bar the really crazy deal that we might be proposed to in terms of like 40-50 million, which I can't see happening.
No, not from
So
Serie A team.
no, so I think Moretti for now is at gold for to him leaving. I think he's building up minutes. He's gaining some momentum. Spalletti trusts him. He's happy. I can't see any reason for him to move elsewhere, to be honest.
Let's go to the last name on our list. Powerhouse striker, man of many minutes for Juventus, our good friend Arkadiusz Ark Milik. Why is he here?
He's here because Juventus is fed up with him. Juventus has officially sent him a letter or to his management in which they state that they basically say that he's unprofessional, that he doesn't tend to curing his injuries, and they hold him accountable for that. So the next step for Juventus is to officially try to terminate the contract within all sorts of, there are all laws attached to these sort of things, as you can imagine. But Juventus is very much entertaining the idea of going into that and seeing what they can do to basically annul his contract, because yeah, he serves no purpose. He's still on the books. He costs a lot of money. He's very adamant about not leaving Juventus, despite one or two, sniffs about from other teams. So Juventus is with his back against the wall. The fact that he's always injured, and even if he's not injured, he'll find a way to get injured. That's the vibe that he's giving off at this point. And Juventus are fed up, so I could see his I could see them finding a settlement and an agreement where they terminate his contract and he'll become a free player. I'd say that January is a bit too early, maybe, although anything could happen if they find, judicial causes.
Mhm.
If not, this will surely happen in the summer. And I think I'm 99.9% safe in saying that Milik won't be a Juventus player in the 26-27 season for Juventus.
To be clear, are you saying that Juventus will meet with him to see if they can come to an agreement to terminate his contract, or that Juventus believes he is in some way, shape, or form in breach of his
Yeah,
contract?
it's it's a bit of both, but the way that it works is that you can go back and forth in court, and it takes forever, especially in Italy. So Juventus' strategy now is to say, okay, you're in the wrong here. You know it. We know it. Let's not get overfussed and pay out all these lawyers and drag this thing out. What would it take for us realistically? So don't shoot just any number, but we think that your contract is worth this. And then they do all these things with the minutes that he's played and whatever, and they kind of make up sort of percentage, and then they offer that to him. And if he doesn't accept, then I probably will go to court, I imagine. But they'll try to resolve this amongst themselves
Mhm.
first.
Okay, because his contract does expire at the end of next season.
Yes.
He hasn't actually paid that much. He's just slightly above Yildiz, I believe, on the way. I mean, it is a few million net, um, but it's not big.
Uh,
But it could be. I mean, it would certainly cover him in case salary.
yeah.
Yeah, that
And
fee.
the thing is, his contract, the clauses that are in his contract, they are very specific about team targets. Meaning, Juventus reach Champions League, he gets another bonus.
Mhm.
Juventus reached this stage in Champions League, even though he hasn't played, he gets X amount. So it's unfair, and that's also the feeling that's been humming a bit around the locker room because, well, you never see the guy, you never meet the guy, he's never on the game sheet, he never pitches in, he's always injured. Still, he's somebody, as you said, making the same amount as Yildiz, while Yildiz is doing whatever he can in order to salvage Juventus. So it doesn't add up, and the
Mhm.
fact that the injuries, and there's even a suspicion of him faking injuries in the sense that making them worse than that they actually are. That's what I get from my source. So it's gonna be something to. It's gonna be another saga in the Juventus history once again.
Awesome. That's exactly what we need and want is
Yeah,
a Arik
more
Milik
drama.
drama with regards to his contract termination and stuff. I mean, got to be honest. If Juve's mad about him making money off of us reaching sporting goals, maybe they shouldn't have included that in his contract.
Nope.
So it's just, I mean, I hate to blame a player about these situations because I feel like everybody deserves theirs. If they gave him a bad contract, a la Dusan Vlahovic's, that's management's fault to some extent.
Yeah, we have a lot of that going around lately.
Yeah. All right. Well, needless to say, you said that he's basically gone, whether it's now or in the summer. What is the temperature you're giving him to leave?
Well, hot, of course. I think it speaks for itself.
No, it
99.9% sure
doesn't
they
speak
will.
for itself, Frederic. We're here to tell people, and so it can't
Oh,
speak for
sorry.
them. We're trying to
So
help speak for people or to people.
he's he's gonna he's
That's
he's
how
gonna
this
leave.
works.
He's gonna leave. He's gonna leave in January. He's gonna leave in June, but he's gonna leave. I don't know the financial blowback of the whole matter, but we'll have somebody else in.
If nothing needed to be said, then we wouldn't even be here.
True,
I'd
true.
be
That
enjoying
would make for,
my coffee in peace. But of course, I
but
would
that would
miss
make
spending this time together.
boring Tuesday nights. When at least for me, it's afternoon where you're from, but it
Yeah.
makes for boring Tuesday nights for me.
Yeah. Well, this completes the list of names that we had prepared for you today. Obviously, there's other names that surrounding Juventus. We named some of them earlier. Um, and we want to make sure that y'all are able to ask your questions either of us or about players or about the market. And so this is where we generally pivot and go down I go back up in the chat and find all your questions. If there's a question you haven't asked it, or you've just joined the show, please put it in the chat and we will get to it in a minute.
Yep.
Then before we do that, I do want to highlight again at the top of the show, I asked people to put ideas for the sort of an opening video for the scoop. Please, if you have any cool ideas or fun ideas or even silly ideas, put it in the comments of this video. We're going to be meeting with Cola99 to get him to design us one. And I'm not feeling very creative. So I'm hoping you guys are. Put your thoughts, your ideas in the comments, and we'll do that as well. If you're interested, I put the link to turngiants.com where our scoop shirts are have landed. If you were one of the few people who had requested, we have big sizes. There's only one double XL left. So please go scoop that up before you miss out. And we appreciate all of you. Okay, Frederick, give me a second. I'm going to scroll up and we're going to find some
Yes.
questions from everybody today. Benedetto, by the way, raises a bad for coefficient with the results today. I haven't looked at the coefficient lately, but I do know that Germany and Spain have clubs in the bottom spots of the Champions League standings, and all of Italy's teams, at least in the Champions League, I haven't looked at Europa or Conference, but at least in the Champions League, all of the Italian teams are currently set to go through. So I don't know where we stand on the coefficient right now, but at least from a qualification standpoint, Italy's looking better than other major regions.
I also don't give a damn. I hope every Italian side loses in Europe. I'm sorry. I'm very petty that way. I'm the 50 Cent of Calcio Mercato. I can't stand other European I don't care. I really don't care what they do. I hope they lose and I hope we go through. So yeah.
Well, I was just addressing the question, Frederic. My opinion be damned. We'll go down to Alex. Alex wants to. Well, he didn't ask a question, but I will ask you, Frederic. How many buses is Mourinho going to bring tomorrow?
Well, quite a few. I think Mourinho's tactic has not changed that much over the years, and given the fact that they basically need to win in order to survive or have any hopes of surviving this round of the Champions League, he'll go for the buses and the counterattack as we're used to. Will we be prepared for that? I honestly don't know. I always feel that we have a lot of difficulties creating chances or scoring against teams who play with a 10-man back line, so to speak. So we'll see. It's going to make for an entertaining game nonetheless. So
I have a question for you. If we try to counter his park the bus tactics by our own park the bus tactics, will the ball just stay in the middle circle and not move for 45 minutes?
probably.
Okay.
There's very high chance of that happening, but I don't think that Spalletti desperately wants this win, not
Yeah.
just for his contract or whatever, but I think Spalletti is very keen on making a statement, especially in Europe after the whole national team debacle.
Mhm.
So I think he's very motivated to ensure that we get a win at home against Benfica.
All right. I realized I could put the questions on the screen. So I'm going to start doing that. That'll help everybody. Alex, it's not really a question, but it's a comment, but it's one that runs at the core of Frederic and my existence over the last 8 months. It is hard to do a Mercado show and a Mercado when there's no money and UEFA's breathing down your neck. You are telling us we're trying to provide value with Frederic's contacts, and Juventus is just not able to do a lot of deals. We're trying the best we can, at least, to give you the information of what's going on behind the scenes as to the deals that may or may not happen.
Yep.
Let's go. Then right immediately below this comment, Ibolito says, "Why do all the deals get busted, Frederic? What's the main cause? Is it really Comoli's fault?" And fault, I will say this: fault implies a blame. So I'll ask you, as to the Comoli bit, is it smart, for him, giving a hard line on Mateta, in your opinion? Or is it truly a negative? It is his fault for sticking so strongly to his conviction that we would not stretch for a player that that the fan base thinks we need.
I find it very difficult to judge anybody just on one potential transfer. I'd rather reserve my judgment for after the summer window. But as things stand right now, and there are a bit of indoor, let's say, arguments between how Comoli does things, how he expects things to be done, and the expectations that other people in management have. Um, it's not drama level yet, but there are people, a lot of people that are not satisfied by the way he's communicating. Number one, and number two, how he's delegating. Comoli is very much somebody who micromanages. He wants overview of everything, and for some people that doesn't sit well. So is it his fault? It's a stance he takes. Is it the right or the wrong one? We'll have to judge afterwards. We cannot, we don't have a crystal ball, so it's very difficult to get an assessment on that. From my personal opinion, the deals that are being busted, I don't know. I don't know if it's, being busted because of Mercato. There are a lot of talks that we don't even know about. Not me, not my source, maybe just Comoli. That might just happen. I mean, think of, the Appenda deal done in 24 hours, the Jonathan David deal that was, pushed through all of a sudden. So there are things that are,
well, the David deal is a little different because you and I were talking about that over a month before he signed. It was he was going to sign, then he wasn't going to sign, then he was going to sign. I mean, we tracked everybody through that saga as part of our show. The Appenda deal did seem to come out of nowhere at the last minute when the Colomwani deal didn't go through.
Yeah, but then, the question arises, was it a panic deal or was it something that was contemplated beforehand? We'll never get, the answers to that. The only thing we know now is that, Appenda isn't working for Juventus the way we hoped and assumed he was. So, then it's partially Comoli's fault because he's the one who gave the go-ahead. And the responsibility of an AD is a bit more larger, so he needs to be held accountable for deals not going through. I mean, it's difficult. It's a marriage of three parties: the buying team, the selling team, and the player themselves. Also, you have to throw about a bunch of commissions to management and agents and whatnot. So it's difficult in this day and age, especially with not unlimited budget like City or PSG to make something happen. So I wouldn't blame Comoli for that. I would blame him for the fact into who he attracts and with what reason within the team. But I'll reserve my judgment, as I said, for after the summer transfer window.
I will say, and this might be due to UEFA investigations, as we've heard from within, you and I both heard from within Juventus, like all the departments are being asked, like almost to like a per dollar, per euro standpoint, what are you spending to be as fiscally responsible as possible? Let's move to the next question. I'm going to give Jurgen the benefit of the doubt when he asks, where's Osimhen? And to assume that his answer, that the answer he's looking for is not simply Turkey. Where is he relative to potential moves back to Europe, if or more specifically, potentially Juventus? He obviously, and we reported on this a lot, there was tons of interest over the summer. It's just the financials didn't make sense. So where do we stand with regards to him potentially coming to Turin?
Osimhen was a done deal. It was a Juntoli
Mhm.
deal. It was done. All we needed to do is sign the contract, or Komoli needed to sign the contract. Then, of course, we know what happened with Juntoli, and we decided not to pursue it. For me, if you ask me personally, if you think Osimhen would be or would fit in this Juve, I'd say yes, but not at the price or the cost that it would cost us. Because if you're gonna get him and you can get him, then you're gonna pay, his weight in gold. And I don't think he's the type of player that needs to be paid his weight in gold. He's good, but not that good. And Juve fan for life also said Napoli has a clause, no Italian team for 2 years. That's true and not true. He has an anti-Italian clause in his contract, but that's only valid if he plays less than 6 or 8 months, I forgot, abroad. And now he's been at Galatasaray, I think, for 10 months. So the clause should be voided. But either way, I think, Osimhen is not a realistic target for now.
I think unequivocally, and we talked about this over the summer as well, so I don't need to belabor the point, is he's a fantastic striker. It's just we don't have the money. It's like the Tonali rumors. I putting my foot very firmly down that we don't have the money for him, no matter what the transfer gurus and the publications tell you. We don't have the money right now. I mean, maybe over the summer, if we get Champions League, if Douglas Luiz gets his deal gets executed, Openda goes back to Germany, then we'll have some money. But we don't have it. We don't have it.
No.
Masood wants every episode. Y'all get me every time. Usually it's our good friend Farhad, of course, wanting to know about Berardi. I think that ship has sailed. Let's move on.
The ship sank even.
Oh, it sank. Okay. Hopefully,
It sank.
hopefully everyone got to shore safely. Well, let's move from one Sassuolo player to another former Sassuolo player. Alex is quite happy for Teze isn't on the list. Is his potential arrival done? Is this over? Is this over and done with the saga?
I made it one of my own laws and virtues not to say done until I see ink on paper. The transfer market is completely over, but I think chances of him signing are small. I think it gained some traction in the beginning, in the first week of Mercato, especially because he made it very clear that he wanted to leave. He had a potential Juve offer on the table. But yet again, was on the teams to decide what the outcome was going to be, and it wasn't easy to reach an agreement with Inter. Nor did Inter find an easy opponent in Juve as to, push their terms on us. So it kind of went south from there. So I think it's not going to happen, though.
Bogdan, we talked briefly with Bogdan about the shipping costs. If you really want a scoop shirt and you go to a website and the shipping is prohibitive, one, do not buy it with prohibitive shipping. Two, reach out to us directly, and we will work with Farhad, who is the shipper, to see what alternative and ways we can get these shirts to you. There are absolute ways where we can maybe ship some bulk shipping to folks that we have around the globe and then distribute from there for the sake of getting it to anybody who wants it. So please reach out to us.
Work.
Yeah, exactly. But you have to message us at Turn Giants on Instagram and or the Scoop Juve and or Zach Talks Calcio, and we'll make it right so that nobody should be paying that much for shipping. That's ridiculous.
No.
I'm going down the list of all the questions. And while I'm doing this, I do want to just repeat, thank you, everybody. Y'all are always showing up to these episodes. We love interacting with you. We love seeing not only names of folks that we see every time, as well as new folks. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah. I massively Yeah, I wanted to say as well because my wife asked when I was setting up, do people actually watch you when you're at this hour when you're online? I said, yeah, sure they do it, and then they're very loyal. Oh, I didn't expect that. I said, no, because you've been married to me for 17 years and you're used to me now. The good people, the good people within the YouTube community are not. They're not sick of me yet. So,
No, no. I mean, I got to be real. I love it. I consider all of y'all sort of my Juve family. Like I've told repeatedly across Turn Giants content is there's there's no fan club here in Houston. It's been hard for me to find folks here that I can bond over a team that I love, and y'all have really become that. So thank
yeah.
you. Do. Okay, we get back to Alex's comment about looks like we're getting half a squad in the summer and ignoring the obvious fact that we need depth and quality. Is this and a lot of the names we've listed about coming in the summer are people who are almost out of contract, right? Is are we returning to the sign a legitimate player on a free strategy of Juve from I don't know 10, 15 years ago?
Well, there is a shift in dynamics, that's for sure. And to give a little bit of a backdrop towards that is because we've tried on Juvical wise to be the Manchester United city of Italy by signing Ronaldo, by signing all these players that we thought that were of added value, paid a lot of money for them, and they didn't, deliver. Then it's up to the new management to see, okay, what strategy are we gonna assume now? And I think the strategy is clear. We find players that fit our squad with enough potential to fulfill eventual roles within that squad, but they have to be worth a certain amount, be it in terms of salary, be that in terms of a transfer fee. So gone are the days of spending 40 to 60 to 70 million euros on players we think that might do well. No, we battle down a bit and we say, okay, we're gonna get players in who we think are good and be valuable to us. But these are our margins. These are the things that we look at, and these are the barometers that we carry financially. So I think it makes sense, but it has to translate to an on pitch ensemble of 11 individuals, resulting in a team. And that's Spalletti's job, and he's doing a good job at it for now. But one season is not the next one, so we'll see where that takes us. But it's surely a different strategy. It's
Mhm.
definitely not the Juntoli strategy.
Yeah. Well, people love you, Fred. They hit the thumbs up for
Oh, that's
Frederic,
nice.
followed up by Bogdan being called out, and not in a bad way, called out positively as the ambassador of hype and
He
like,
is.
which is absolutely awesome. I will clarify. I've said Alex a few times as folks making comment. We have a couple Alexes here between Alex Juve and Alex Boston. So apologies for not clarifying earlier. Scrolling back up, let's see here. I lost my spot. Del Piero asked, "Did Quentin Timber go to Marseille for only 4.5 million euro?" Yes, give
He
or
did.
take. That is true, and that is final, and that is done.
Yep.
Um, Scrolling up to find out where I left off. I apologies, y'all. I've been bouncing around to try to keep up with all of y'all. Okay, there we are. We got it. Where would Kessie fit in? Masood asks, where would Kessie fit in our lineup? And honestly, I think I don't want to be cop out, Frederick. I want your answer, but like Kessie could play a deeper role if Spalletti wants him to be his Lobotka or his Anguissa sort of box to box. I think it depends on Kessie now pushing 30 and relative to Locatelli staying with the team, having Taram and Moretti here, what Spalletti really wants him to do, and he is versatile enough, in my opinion, to play a couple roles. What's your take
Yeah.
on this, Frederic?
I think that's exactly the essence of it. He's very versatile. He can play in the Turan position, a bit deeper. He can also
Mhm,
play as a genuine defensive midfielder,
mhm,
just in front of the defense. And I think that's his unique selling point at this stage, that you can have one person who can fit all roles in midfield. And I think that is something that Spalletti desires as well. I think he wants to, for next season, should he stay on, he wants to shuffle up the midfield a bit and rotate more, because his
mhm.
rotating options are very limited this season. And it shows because we're very inconsistent. But he wants a dynamic midfield. So preferably four midfielders who can play in four different positions in that midfield, which is very hard to come by. But if you look at the names that have been touted around, the name of Kessie, Bernardo Silva, one could even, add Ruben Neves to that list. There are all guys apart from Ruben Neves who can play in all positions in midfield. So it makes sense on paper. Let's see how it turns out on the pitch.
Yeah. And I haven't watched him recently. I would love to see if he still has the quality that we saw last time he was in Italy. Um, Alex Boston says that Milik guaranteed 1000% would have scored against Cagliari if he played. The real bummer about Milik is, and I truly believe this, is a Milik prior to joining Juventus. What, he joined us from Marseille, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, I truly believe that if he, Napoli Milik or Marseille Milik was actually a really good fit under Mota and would have been a good fit under Spalletti. But I don't know if it's a mental thing in addition to his physical thing, but that ship, talk about ship sinking, that one.
That
That
sounds
ship is
deeper than the
long,
Titanic.
long
Yeah, yeah,
sink.
yeah. Sadly, because I was very keen when he arrived as well, because I think he was a very modern type of striker.
Mhm.
Had every thing going for him in terms of finishing, contrast, keeping up with the ball, bit of technique here and there, headers. But yeah, it all turns very sour very quickly. But these things happen. Sadly, it's just a bit coincidental that they always seem to happen to us. So let's hope for better times.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't want to cry over spilt milk, right? On
No,
that one, but
no.
that was just. Oh, hey, I hope Dan was here earlier. We've said your name like 40 times this episode, Dan. So apologies. If you missed it, you're gonna have to go back and check it out. It was all positive, I swear. He wants to know: do we think there are any loopholes to not redeem Openda this summer? Now, Frederic, I'm actually really glad he asked this question because we were actually brought up in a couple different spheres on social media as having supplies the information that there is likely a clause in Openda's loan that we can send him back and have to pay a penalty.
Hmm.
And we people are like, "Hey, these guys are saying it." Other people are like, "Who are these guys? They know nothing." So I said earlier in the show that we're still digging into like definitively the clauses of this, but why don't you remind folks kind of where we left off on Openda's loan deal as it's been articulated to you by your source?
Well, there is a possibility, so not a certainty, because a lot of people were reporting this as a certain fact, while I clearly stated that was something that we were investigating and not 100% sure of. But there are rumors or definite speculation about the fact that there is a clause in Openda's contract that we have to pay a certain penalty if the clause of him joining definitely is not triggered. I'm still unaware of the specifics, looking into it, but it's very difficult to maintain to get a hold of that info. But with the benefit of hindsight, it would make sense for having a player for that amount of money, that who is technically on loan and whose option will not get triggered, or if we choose not to trigger it, that we'll have to pay a penalty. However, not confirmed yet. Doing the best I can to get some more info on that. If that's not the case, then we're buggered.
uh,
That's
okay, so but we are trying to get more clarity on this to see what are these scenarios in which we
yeah,
can
and
execute
I
send
I
back.
want to specify one thing. A contract between a player and another team, Juventus is of course obliged to share that on their site and whatever. But the fine printing, because there are a lot of appendices on a contract, like we only see 10 lines of text on the Juventus official website, but a contract is literally like sometimes this thick, and I've seen contracts in real life of professional players, so I'm not lying here. And what happens is that they briefly summarize it to make that announcement on their site or their socials as they are obliged to. But all the rest, all the appendices, everything, the clauses, the even the bonuses, they just go to the lawyers. They keep a hold of that. They don't even, as far as I know, digitalize them. So it's very, I wouldn't say hush hush, but there are certain privacy things that have to be taken into account. And of course, if a financial agency were to ask about those things, then Juventus is obliged to show them. But if nobody asks about them, then Juventus can keep these appendices in their legal offices. And it's very difficult to get a hold of those because you'd need actual Juventus lawyers to
Mhm.
break their oath of client confidentiality, which is not that easy this day and age.
All right, I'm trying to bounce around in the interest of time, so I will scroll back up. But kind of low towards the bottom of the chat was a question from Unholy Fun. Gatti and Rugani, how do they manage to survive and keep staying at Juve every season? Does the management see something in Gatti that we don't? Um, I think these are two separate questions because Rugani is very much a backup player who is okay being a backup player. He's not paid that much. He makes barely as much as Milik, which is kind of yield as a money, kind of towards the bottom of our wage structure. And when he plays like a solid backup. Gatti, though, was just given a raise. He's the 8th highest paid player on our team when you look at net salary, with the understanding that he would be a part of this backline, and we haven't seen him in forever. So let's just, in the interest of time, maybe target specifically at Gatti and kind of briefly, Frederic, on what we stand with regards to Gatti, and maybe touch on the fact that we have heard some rumors about him leaving. Whether there's any fire behind that smoke.
There is some fire behind that smoke. There are a number of teams, but either Juventus is not happy with the transfer fee or the modality of that transfer, or Gatti is not happy with the destination or the salary. I think it was Milan. It was, I think, Leipzig and another team. Can't remember. Anyway, but it didn't pan out. But I think Gatti was a mistake. I think, especially his renewal. I think we got carried away by the fighting spirit that he showed. We didn't pay attention to quality. And if you have such a lackluster team of sacks of potatoes like we did the past couple 2 years, and you see somebody with fighting spirit, then you're inclined to say he's the guy, he's the exception on the rule. But if you now see a different coach bringing that fighting spirit to the rest of the team, then he falls short. So I think management, and I don't mean that as a unfair criticism towards them, but I think they made a mistake, and I think they're well aware of it. But to erase that mistake is going to take some time and some effort. So I don't see Gatti popping into the starting 11, especially now that Bremer's back. Kelly's doing an amazing job. Kalulu is a pillar. I just don't know where you put Gatti, and I think it's only a matter of time before he starts complaining and whining.
I mean, at
Uh,
3.5 mil net. I mean, for a guy who doesn't play, I mean, granted, we were paying 15 mil net to Dushan even when he was playing, somewhat lackluster. I mean, look, actually, stop. You have Gatti at 3.5. You have Conceição 4.75. You have Openda at 5. Coop at 5.6. I mean, of the top 8 paid players, 5 of them are severely underperforming, and that goes to somebody. And forgive me, who said in the chat that some of the contracts that we've given to people over the last several years have just been insane. I think I'm agreeing with you when we look at this. So it will be, like Frederic said, there is interest in Gatti. If he's not playing here, it makes sense to move on simply from a cost standpoint. It is an Italian defender. I'm sure other Italian teams would be willing to pay for him. And if Camoli employs the same tactic he did with Marseille with regards to Timmy Weah's departure, hopefully that would mean a decent amount of money for us. All right. I lost where I was in all of the comments. I appreciate you all for engaging, providing comments. Let me scroll
I
back
don't think there were a lot of.
There was one question that I remember. It was, and forgive me for whoever asked this. I've lost it, but they asked whether we think we dodged a bullet by not signing Conte when we see kind of how the drama with Napoli and how they perform in the Champions League. And I could ignore where Napoli is in any table and unequivocally tell you we dodged a bullet because we know exactly how a Conte tenure would look. And I don't feel like we need to revisit that for our team. But I don't know how Frederic feels as to Conte not coming.
The players are what they are, and a good coach makes a team, in my opinion, can make a team up to 25% better than they actually are, and that's Conte's unique selling point right there. He squeezes them out like lemons, but to no avail. Whereas Spalletti is a bit more moderate in his approach and still gets a lot out of those players. But to get back on my previous comment, if you have 11 sack of potatoes, you don't, bring in a good coach, whether that be Conte, Palladino, Spalletti, I don't know anybody, and make them into superstars. And I think with current management and the way that they're handling it, and them combined with someone like Conte, who has high demands and always wants the room to focus on him, I think that it would have been suicide regardless of the sporting events that would happen. That's my opinion.
Yeah, shout out Azru, who both he and Juve fan for life have clarified that was his. Apologies for missing that. As you can tell, I'm bouncing back between the chat where the questions were, chat at the bottom, as well as listening to my good friend over here break everything down. I think I've gotten to every question. I think we can sign it off there, folks. I really appreciate all of you for joining us here today. Frederic, if it's not for y'all, we enjoy this a lot. We do this because of you guys, and this is something definitely that we're passionate about. So we genuinely mean thank you. When we say thank you, we genuinely mean it. We will be with you tomorrow as for one of our post-game episodes after the Champions League game. I will not be with Beppe on Thursday. I will be on a plane on my birthday flying to Torino, Italy. Where I will be attending the Napoli game. We're going to try to do a live from the stadium post-game sort of sub-segment where Kevin, Frederic, and myself will give you a couple insight into the stadium atmosphere after hopefully a resounding victory. And I guess that's what we're looking forward to over the next week. The next week, we'll have more scoop episodes, and we, of course, will bring you the post-game after Monaco, which is I believe, Tuesday.
Yeah, right, and we have we have an episode dedicated on our trip to Turin, I think.
We will do sitting down at some point for that. I can't guarantee when it is. As y'all know, we are all working dads, so we have family responsibilities and work responsibilities, which makes scheduling sometimes problematic.
Yeah.
But we will do the best that we can with regards to that. And I think that Farhad has some plans with regards to maybe doing it as part of his after-hour show series or not.
Be sure to check that one out too.
Yes, and Juve fan, I see you with regards to the Lazio game. If you did email Farhad about the sweatshirts getting to Canada, I'm going to actually text him right now to just be like, hey, be on the lookout for that so that we can try to make that happen. I'm actually bringing my Turin Giants sweatshirt to cold Torino, so I can be repping that while I'm walking around the streets over there. Because it'll be much, 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 much colder than it is in Houston, Texas, where it is hot. It is already quite hot. Cool. All right. I think that's it. Thank you, everybody in chat. Again, we appreciate you. Frederic, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
The show. It would not happen without you. So appreciate you all. We will talk to you tomorrow after hopefully a much, much better result. And until then, as always, folks, Forza Juve.